Okay. Good morning. 8 o'clock. I hope people are here. Join, please. Anyone, get in this. I want to be talking. Why do I always do this? I have it all set up, so I don't have to have that set up. Cool. Good morning, everybody. This is art and politics. I kind of want to talk about two things in this world right now. I love art and I do love politics, but I don't like talking about politics. Yeah, think about that one for a second. I don't like talking about politics because it always ends up in a fight. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't like to be jumping into confrontations for the sake of confrontation's sake. Yes, that's what I meant to say. So my name is Dan Aronson. I'm going to be talking to you about how to mesh art into politics in a way that's not, I think, what everyone's thinking. I think when people think art and politics, they're going to think like bringing a real directional sense toward this when there is none. I want to remove all direction. What I'm saying when I say art and politics is I'm going to be drawing our future. So I'm an artist. So as we go, I want to be able to put it on the board. I am a futurist as well, so I want to take and see if we can modify some of these things. I need to look into it. I wish that, it just came to me right now. Let me see if I can look it up right now as we speak here. So, there was a futurist. What was the dude's name is what I want to see here. It's like Jacques something. It's French name. I don't know. Let me look it up here. Futurist personalities. It's funny, you have to think about how to ask Google. Futurist personalities. It always wants to give you how much do futures, what are the characteristics? How do I become, list. Futurist personalities. Personalities of past. What was the dude's name? What was the end? How did, okay, let's look. Wikipedia. Past futurists. Let's just look up Wikipedia. I just need the name. Because this dude here was he had a whole group actually. He had a place, if I'm not mistaken, in Florida, where at the end of his life he was really designing a futurist system. I just need his name. Give me a name. I always have to look for the blue ones. Blink. It's like Fleischman. Edward, no. It was like Jacques Harris. But it was, dude was just on it. If I'm not mistaken, he had quite a few personalities within the people who kind of followed his ideological setup toward futurism. But not futurism. That sounds like it sounds like something you can contract. His futuristic beliefs of society. So he was a futurist. What was the name of his society? It's gonna come to me. It's just gonna come to me, and I'll be a blink, and we'll go look for it again. But we have it set up right here. So back in the past, it was the way I conceived what the dude was doing was he was just a designer, a maker, a builder. He did a lot of stuff. He was around during the wartime, I think back in World War II. He was building and making and designing. Just a smart dude. Built bridges and helped do a whole bunch of stuff. So the guy was a builder and a maker, conceiver. And when he got into his later portion of his life, he started to really design things for the future, thinking if we made things this way, we would be a lot, probably more satisfied as humans. We'd feel more fulfilled. and it's simple structures that we live in to how we lived. It was a neat society. Oh, it almost hit me. He had a real prominent group, like I said, men, women, and I think one of his main, I think his second was this really just brilliant woman. And she was he and her really were the designers of this futurist. So I just know through this one gentleman, like I almost had his name too. But this is where we're going right now with this channel, is more like that. What is the future going to look like? How can we truly conceive it? And then from there, if I was to say, as people, what can we, as anyone, I don't care what side you are, I'm not I don't lean politically enough to, everyone wants to say centrist, so they don't like that, like I'm walking the fence. I don't walk a fence. I like what they say here, what they say there. Not all of it, portions of it. We all are that way. If we all took tests, we would realize, oh, I'm 60% something I didn't think I was. Yeah. You're more of the thing you thought you weren't. But the things that you were on the other side were so much more on the crucialities of what makes that presence on this side. It's just the way things are. I mean, we conceive things the way we want to conceive them. Why do you think they don't test us on our political standings? Because you would realize you aren't who you think you are. But I can convince you are on the main issues, the things that matter the most. But for everything else, I can con you. And that's the political setup right now. It's kind of that. And everyone hates to think I got conned. And it's kind of like, man, I've been scammed. Everyone's been scammed. I'm not saying this in such a way where it's like, oh, yep, there's dumb people. No, everyone gets scammed. Smart people. What the Gates Foundation got hacked a while ago for something I heard on the news. So it's one of those things where, anything can happen. To smart, to dumb, doesn't matter. So when it comes to leanings on a side, most of us, for my sake, have been told you're something that sometimes you may find out you're not. Some people are exactly that side, one leaning side, or the other leaning side. And I'm putting it toward a direction when I shouldn't, because I don't care on a side. I don't. I go down the board pretty evenly on a lot of different things. Been in the military, but I got out of the military for the same reason why people would get out of why they wouldn't join the military. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me in the sense of a society. So I get that. But for me as a human, the way I am set up, the way I am personally programmed, it wasn't meshing with me fully. I liked a lot of the military. I take that training to this day. I'm walking with military training. So that's something that I have to say. Some people who believe that the military is so bad, like I said, if you were to join, you would realize how crucial it was for your life to move to the next level. It's just the way it is. Some things you need to be told, hey, I don't care what you think, you will do this. It feels like prison, but if you do it to the military sense, it's not. You volunteered for it, you joined. With that process in mind, you do realize, oh, sometimes I'm not in control, and I just got to do what they tell me to. But it's like passing through a tunnel in a train. It just happens. Things go dark for a little bit, and you come back on the other side of light. It's what you have to do in life. There's just real openly free people in our society who take that to the extreme by saying, I never want to go through a tunnel. Good on you. Never go through a tunnel. Take the long way around every single time. That's fine and dandy. I really do believe that too. I'm not saying that to be facetious and acting aloof about this. I'm not. I am literally saying I believe it's good for some people to take another path. Tunnel would be full of people if some people didn't want to go another way. And with it, they find other things, other light, other art, other facets, other culture. That's very important. That's what happens in our world. Some people, though, don't mind going through the tunnel. And when you go through the tunnel, you will do what you're told. That's it. You will come out on the other side. The tunnel, it's rare that you get stuck in the tunnel. It happens. It's happened in the world throughout societies and time. where every once in a while they stop that train full of people and say, guess what? Sorry. But we're building a pyramid. Sorry. Hey, you're the ones in the tunnel. We need to build a pyramid. Here we go. So be careful about going through the tunnel and what time in society you're going through the tunnel. That's all I can say in my little analogy of isms and things. But once again, like I said, when I was in the military, I did realize that sometimes you have to just realize that giving up your freedom to authority gets you through the tunnel faster. And if you just go into the train, do what you're supposed to, and then get out on the other side, that's a way of thinking in life. I've had to do that many times just because that's the only way of thinking. Because if not, they will roughhouse you into doing things to get out if you're not going to join. And since you did volunteer, it's very easy for you to have the conception, well, I gotta do what I'm told. So it made it easy. I was young and dumb. That's the classic coining of the terms, right, of the sentence right there is young and dumb. I just did what I was told, and it made sense. And then I got out, and it was very interesting looking around to see that in our world going on into the future, it's going to be a very bipolar experience. I know it's interesting because I was looking at the brain the whole time I'm thinking that, and that's exactly what it is. You've got the side that's very mechanical, very logical, very controlled, and then you have the open spasm of the other. So you have this picture here, and it's just one that I've seen it a few times throughout here, but I always like this version right here. I see the one down below, it looks like a circuit board, yeah, whatever. But this is more like what it is. But this is more like our society. That's like what I also think. I think our society, if you look at it, kind of reminds me of a human's body. And if we start taking into consideration what is very important for a body to maintain itself, you will realize that throughout society, we can set it up to be designed with different systems in it. Complete different systems. You could have socialism over in this area because it works really well. Just it is. And amongst this group of people within this country setting, let's just use America and say certain states or state could be set up within a very socialistic setting. Within this setting. But also that would be serving a function. What function would that be in the body? If you were to look at the body, what would that be doing? That's the processing center. The area where people don't mind kind of just doing the minutious work. They like that in a way, and that's nothing wrong with that. I think people will hear that and go, "Oh, not that," but I consider myself that. Doesn't matter. Good for you. You don't think it. You are it, though. A lot of people don't want to believe that, but that's just the truth of the matter. I think I'm something else because I associate that. Yeah, you associate. That's a very small portion of you that you like to have as a major. That's the front page of your web page. But really, when you delve into your website, that's just something you like to splash on your, like I said, your Facebook page. And really, if I was to look at you, are you that person that you present inside your social media platforms? Probably not always. Are you that way when you're around your mom and dad? Probably not always. So like I said, it's one of those things that people don't want to accept the fact that they are really going to be doing these other things. That I'm going to say we need to also realize we need to have that ability to look within our society to say, okay, yes, those functions are serviceable. Very well. A socialist system would mean that through the government, how much would be allocated now to a smaller functioning portion of the group that wants to have it set up for a very socialistic system. What other systems are there? Of course, we're dealing with our standard system of just, we are a currency-based system. We want to deal with things on a monetary level. I know there's the names for it, but that one is open for interpretation. Started as a republic, but now we're a democracy. But we're also dealing with the fact that the agency of America is kind of a corporation. So we're a corporate entity for the most part, which is, once again, if you think about a corporation, they also have sections. No corporation doesn't just have, every corporation has sections. There's the banking portion, that's the accountants, there's there's the things that have to happen throughout and each one of those are very separate. We have very separate systems within our government. But we don't want to classify the fact that there are very creative people out there that need to have their opening and advantage to being able to move things ahead. But I would consider myself to be a creative. and a creative has a very stinking tough, because amongst most people, it's like, hey, I've figured out what I want, quit creating things anymore. That's just that costs money and time and effort to go. But once again, without a place and an avenue for those, and what system is that though? It would almost be a socialistic system to a degree, to have creatives set up in an area where they're going to be able to almost have access to being able to utilize their creativity for specific things. Now, once again, corporations then step in, and that's where we're dealing with right now. That's why it would almost be better as a governmental system or a function of the people's government being able to really operate creatives and say, hey, can you think this way for us? We want to be more agricultural. You'd be surprised how creatives would just go straight into figuring out how to be very agricultural proper and say, hey, we would like it to fit underneath these functions even, if that's possible, please. And you would be surprised at where creatives would want to go with this. But once again, if a creative has to go to a 9-to-5 job, it's a unique entity. Make your money to do your creativity. Well, they end up spending every dime they have on their, I can show you my house. I do. Every dime I have, I will go into making new things. I have 3D printers. I have all sorts of tools, drills, CNC mills, lathes. I mean, I can do it all because that's where my mind goes. Where do you get a job that's going to pay that? And then at the same time, when I'm at work, what am I thinking about? Work? Or am I thinking about the next project that's going to be innovative and help? And that's where things get crazy, is right there. There's no place for certain people to really go right now. So there, like, literally no place for certain people to go. That's an example of what I usually would have to deal with in this situation. But for the most part, most people in the artistic field are looking for a place to be fed. Put me here, I'll do it. Where is that place? You got to fight for it. Why? Why am I fighting while there's 50 gajillion accountants out there that can be done with a calculator and an app right now? Why are we paying for grinders and crunchers of that nature when we should be right now, especially in a time like this, redesigning the future, which is way more important. So I look at these things, and it's just the way that the world's been set up. We don't plan for the future, we plan for now. And now is very easy to have anything happen. If you stumble in the now, are you ready to catch yourself, which would require you to be thinking about the future? Did you put knee pads on? Are those knee pads good? Are they upgraded, updated, ready to go? Are they really going to save you when you fall? Do you have gloves on so you won't... Come on, that's my thing is there's many different ways to make sure that society will have a function, and a lot of those are going to be different systems, social systems, that already exist. And I think the ones that already exist are very important because those are the ones we picked out as humanity. They seem to be the norm across humanity's timeline. It will always be a function of kings, queens, dukes, earls, people who conceive themselves to be of a higher nature. Fine, that's the way it is. If we could fight it, it's always there. Always, always, always there. They want to be the president. They want to be the king. They want to be the dictator. They want to be the this. How do you have that as a function of a society that is proper? It's already set up in ours. It's government. We're good. It'll be there. You know, vote for the this and vote for the that. But within this system, they'll comply to whatever system's here. They don't give a crap. They don't give a crap. They just want to be running something. and we want to be looking up to somebody. So trust me, kings and queens are there because of a very specific reason. We want them there. We want them there. The Queen of England is strong as hell. I bet you that woman, I bet you that old lady is not, I bet you she'd surprise, she's probably so sharp up in that noodle that you could cut the wings off a fly with her thoughts. I mean, I guarantee that woman's smart as hell. That right there is power. So once again, people want that. They want to know, if I lean back, is she going to catch me? And it seems like it's been happening for years and years upon years and years. Through whatever means. Some may be good, some may be bad. Whatever, I don't care. The thing is, we want to look up to somebody. That's already set in place. If we as people can redesign what is going to be crucial in what is going to be crucial in our societies going forward with any operating procedures, really, is where I'm going to now bring it back to. I'm going to get me to my next little segment here, which I was kind of going off on a situation there, which, we need to think about. We need to actually say, hey, if there is a socialistic portion of it, boom. If there is a democracy portion of it, boom. Which, some things are you need the democracy aspect, the heart, the thing that's going to keep things going back and forth and moving and keeping the flow and that. It needs to be there. We as humans think we're fighting when we're actually just keeping things flowing. We fight to survive every day. So if you want to call it that, boom. But really, we're flowing in what we're doing. So it's both always. It's the ebb and the flow. We think we're fighting, but we're not. We're actually we're moving forward. We're innovating. We're producing. So that's not the worst thing in the world. I wish the fighting wouldn't be caustic in nature. So I wish it wasn't eroding away the inner lining of our social structure to start to bleed out within the body of our country. So that can lead to, once again, like all this stuff of a human body is showing itself in our society. Soon as things do erode away and they do start to bleed out, you will start to have pressure malfunctions in the system where things just aren't flowing right anymore, and then before you know it, sickness starts to occur throughout the whole society. A societal sickness, not what's going on now. Sorry, I want to be very understanding of that. This is happening because of something completely different. This is what happens when things just slip out of control. But I'm going to bring this to my next segment, which is going to be my last one here, which is going to be the 3D printer. I think that this is going to be the thing that's going to be bringing us to the next level. And when I'm looking at the 3D printing of the future, it's going to be more like this one here, but on a smaller scale for all of us to use. But, the 3D printers right now, which I have a 3D printer. I have a nice one. It's little. It's a desktop. But it gets me what I need to do so I can actually get to the next level up in here for a lot of things that I have processing right now for, like I said, a lot of things I'm doing for futuristic ideas. I'm running a couple gear patterns for something very specific. There's just things that I'm realizing we are going to be able to move freely soon. And this is just what I'm finding. So if I'm finding stuff, then everyone's finding stuff. Just some guy in his shop at his house. So I'm looking at these things. I see robotics. We're going to get to the point where robotics are going to... There's already intelligence is probably already out there that's probably very, very larger than we think in nature. Predicting a lot more than we think. So with that, they're getting it to where they're realizing we can 3D print big things. I think Elon Musk has got that big old 3D printer where he's got the big metal printer that he's doing the aluminum fuel cells for his stuff, which is like reducing the parts down from 3,000 to like 300 or something like that. He just did a 90% reduction in, it's just insane. Like not 990, yeah, 90. The guy's just, you 3D print the tubes, the lines, the stuff like that, then you don't have to have tubes and lines. Torque ratios, things like, I don't have to have a joint here. where I have to have a tube go into this joiner and then another tube go into the other side, and that's a joiner fitting to do something. But there's two weak points when you have to solder and weld those together somehow or join them somehow. Those are weakness points. Those are where all the problems keep occurring in all things we do. Is wherever there's parts where there's things joining together to connect something to keep the system flowing. If you can print that as a singular entity, even within the walls of itself, now you're reducing down the volume of space needed. So there's ways to do these things to where inside the walls you print the tubes, and then you can have points that you would just have for valves and sake like that could come in into that. Then you would be reducing problems down exponentially, which is why he's landing these suckers back, because he's like, dude, with these things, I can just, because the tolerances are so high on things now. Because if I build a joint that all the parts are 3D printed together with no screws that have to keep two pieces together, it's just everything's one singular printed entity. So with the joints, there is no real loss of two separate pieces coming. Everything's printed as one, so there isn't a place where a screw has to be. Screws are the weakness points of all things. So if sometimes you have to use screws and washers, and if you can print it like that, you save just the ability to reduce things down. Torque ratios go through the roof as far as I'm concerned. You're going to be able to do so much more with so much less. Because where the weak points were here don't exist here anymore. So now you get to bring down the space and the size and the design of a lot of these things, and they come out as one singular piece that can be functioning. That's where I'm looking at 3D printing taking us to the next level. Because if I can reduce down some of these things, then I'm going to be able to create a more dynamic structure that can handle more function, more functions. Like, you see the little things that have to spin to create the holographic technology right now. They have a little four thing that starts to spin real fast, and when it starts to spin, inside it puts light out at the perfect point to create a three-dimensional object at the perfect RPM. So it spins at the right rotation, and at that rotation, it knows right where to throw its color at the right moment on this LED rods that are there to create these holographic looking things. Because when you spin something at the right speed, you won't even really see it spinning anymore. And then at that point, as long as you can do the computer program right, then you're going to be throwing light in such a way where it looks kind of holographic. So, okay, that's the beginnings of what I conceive as being holographic technology, real holographic technology. What you do with that is all you have to do now is bend light. I know that sounds like the hard, like what? Yeah, bend light, but bend light, but bend it. Just keep it where it's at, and just move it with, I don't know, gravity. I don't know. But there's a few things I'm like I said, I'm looking at, and the only reason why I'm saying this so cavalierly in the fact that bending light is I can conceive that happening. Just pushing it, knowing light wants to still be back, is kind of like taking something and leaning it up, and then holding it just through a small gravitational field. See, now here's the thing with 3D printing that I wanted to make sure I get to is they're already starting on the process of human body parts and whatnot. When I say human body parts, I really mean human body parts. Like they're like this is the future right here is what they're thinking. They're going to retake some of your cells from certain places and then redesign them and rebuild them and then recreate them with you as its building block. So it's going to be your heart, just without the defects that are in there right now. So they could take a healthy heart, which they know what a healthy heart looks like, recreate it again over your cells, and where everything's going to reconnect, and then just go to making your heart. That's already in process. Already in process. Where they go from there, I think fungal technology, where they're going to be using funguses and stuff of that nature. Like these things right here, these big, large ones, are going to be the things that are going to be able to do larger scale stuff. My thing is, if we all had a 3D printer that was able to do what we really wanted, we would be able to essentially do, well, I kind of threw something together real quick. So, looks like boxes. I was just dorking with it a little bit ago. So, power supply, the red box, blue box, where the 3D printer is going to be. I'm going to just go to another page real quick here, and I am going to pen down a few things that I'm just going to finish this off. So, come on, paintbrush, yeah. Gray, I'll keep it gray. So, the next part I'm thinking is you would probably have to have your arms, and they would just be kind of, you know, just the things I was just looking at right now, just 3D printer arms. I know it's looking janky on this, because it's a little laggy due to the running programs and stuff right now. So, I'm looking at 2 arms, or 2 something. An arm and almost a multi-functioning tool right here. It can go turn into a lathe, turn into a mill, turn into another one of these arms right here, or then you can have another arm coming off, and then it can be doing something on a platform. You know, you would have like a platform or something that would be able to move back and forth nice and easy for it, so you'd be able to keep everything within a small space. So this thing would have a platform on it that can go back and forth to help with the process. And then this would be your building area here, where you're building something. Let's change the color of this something. Something is going to be red, because why not? Boom. So you're building something, a teapot. Okay. But anything. So what it would be able to do is do anything. So when I say anything now, I'm saying you would be able to go to places where people would be then applying themselves to be more, I'm going to say probably computer oriented. You're going to have a lot of people building apps and, not apps, you'd be saying, I am a cell phone designer. I like to build the little inner workings of cell phones. I actually have quite a few people that I go through to get parts together. So I own a software app center where you come and download the cell phone you like for a one-time use. That one-time use, once used in your 3D printer, it is done. There's ways to do this. I've been looking into policies and how things can be possible on this end of the deal for one-time use only software. So things like of that nature, that's a possibility. Or hey, there it is, you bought it. You can reprint it over and over again. So that way, in case it breaks, you can still use it. There's ways to do this where, you know, hey, you spend an extra $100, you get to keep the app with that cell phone. Which, once again, there's different ways to run it. The cheaper version, the more expensive version. But you sell off I'm a cell phone designer. I'm an electric motor designer. So I will sell you my motor design, boom, and then your 3D printer right here is going to be what is going to be printing it. Cell phone, everything. And in here would be, I would consider this to be almost a hopper of sorts. So this is going to be where you're going to be probably having, let's get it over to gray real quick. This is probably where you're going to have all your material. This is where you're going to have all your materials. So in the hopper right here, you're going to have all your materials. The materials are going to be your bays for you'd put all your stuff, copper, aluminum powder. I think everything would be in some form of almost powder, which then, if it's going to be an extrudable, then it could be a copper extrudable, which would be a poly metallic thing that goes on. So they mix certain plastics, like I think it's a PLA with X amount of material in it, and what it would do is kind of mimic, um, and for the most part, just mimics metal. You can buff it, polish it to a degree. Now, what I'm also thinking is they also have another form. So if this is a big bin, so this is designed to do this. This thing here is interchangeable. Things drop out, move around. It's a machine designed to take care of your. So as of now, I conceive it as being a large semi-room style thing. As of now, this would be half of a room, so like almost like a full kitchen, like a small kitchen, should I say, if that makes any sense. So in shape and size, it's going to be semi-large, so that way you can create up to the size that you're really going to be needing. Now, let's just say this. The reason why I'm thinking these are going to be crucial is someday when people do start to have their mobility about them, and I think humanity is probably going to have a large portion of it wanting to kind of have its own nomadical sense. So with that, I think the flying vehicle version of this, where I think I have my living complex group, and then somewhere down here I have my flying thing. What it is a vessel where this is going to be an integral part of it. So if you have a double wide mobile home style vehicle that is capable of flying around, on top it would have a small gardening section, taking as semi-sustainability to itself is what it is. So I would call these people the sovereign people of the planet, dealing in multinational cards, dealing in trade, dealing in a lot of things that are probably going to be unique still. Like, people aren't going to want to have opium fields growing, really. They're just not. But it still has to be grown because it's a very crucial portion of our medical industry. So if that's the case, you would have possibly, I would say, these sovereign groups of people who could be growing these things in larger groups of people for medical, for this. But you would have to be, like I said, trade guilds, trade unions that would allow for certain things like this. For the most part, the non-trade union sovereign would just be someone who may be educational in nature. So what I'm doing here is I'm just showing how I'd have this hopper all sectioned off. Certain portions of it would be filled with certain things, like two of these may be just plastics, PLAs, different kinds of plastics and stuff. So what you would do is, what I see the future as being, is you wouldn't have, for these sovereign people, they would just be these stores that would be almost like Walmart's, but for bulk items. You would show up, bulk item up, and then you'd go to your computer and say, computer, I want this for dinner tonight. It starts doing things not off of this one specific, but kind of like it. So these things may be kind of close together and kind of semi-utilizing portions of themselves to fulfill certain entities. So maybe the armature from this thing might come off and go over to helping food prep, get things done. So I'm looking at this as being very machines to help, physical machines, almost industrial style machines. So you would have a mini industrialization situation going on in your autonomous vehicle. So that way it would allow for people to have a functioning life. People can still go cook, still go do their own thing. You'd still have a kitchen. But for the most part, let's say there's going to be people who are going to be more on the edge of educational settings. So I think there's going to be an industry for having people go out and to learn the world better, and to heal the world better. So when I say you're going to go out there and you're going to be designing a way to collect the plastics from the microplastics from the water, and not hurt wildlife. That's it. That's how you have to do it. So the way you're going to do it is how? Well, you have to go out and you're going to have to study this. You're going to have to put some time and effort into it. You're going to have to use your machines to build machines to do what you're going to be needing. So you're going to need a test facility version of this, which is going to be able to have more stuff. Is that going to be funded by the government? So you're going to be a autonomous entity that's going to be also funded in certain ways. So there's ways to run certain kind of connections, and I know that can be very tricky when it comes to all of a sudden getting kind of corruptible in nature. But really, if we're going to move to the next level, trust is always going to have to be the first thing we go with, and then from there, like right now, we're losing trust in a lot of things as a society, so we need to move to the next level of realizing where can we then have our I don't like this and this and this. Well, maybe you'd be set up to be a good sovereign person. You can go get your own double wide trailer and fly around, and you can farm, and you can do a lot of stuff like that. And on top of it, if not, when you're done with that, land your farm, you land your thing that's already set up, and maybe you want to then join the city because you feel that you want to go into the political side of it, because from sovereignty you're going to see a whole other side of politics. You just are. So with that, you may want to land that thing someday, set it up, give it to somebody else, they take over, go up, they become sovereign, and you land and go into politics. I do have an idea for political settings in these larger city structures, but we'll get to that at a later date. This right here is going to be wrapping myself up. This is where I'm looking at is 3D printers right now. How can we get 3D printers that will do kind of it all? They'll be your medical physician. They will be your cook. They'll help you make items for doing your daily chores. So how do we get this going right here? Okay, everybody. My name is Dan. I am running a few things right now. My main website is Dan's Artland. I've been Dan's Artland forever. That's kind of what I ran myself as. So go to www.dansartland1.com for my website for any information, or check out my art. Join, please. I would really like you to join the website that I have going on right now. At the same time, please like, subscribe, hit the notification button for sorry for the sweatpants, but I need to stretch. Oh, I don't care. I like it. So with that, I'm going to say, come join my channel, guys, please. It's going to be a lot of fun. I would love to see my comment thing kind of doing, my chat thing kind of actually doing something, meaning someone's here on this planet checking this thing out, because really this is important, everybody. I want to find out. I'm saying this right now to the universe. People could be listening. And if they were listening, what's your thoughts on this? Some people are going to say yes to this. Some people are going to say, I don't see how that could work. Then let's talk about that. How do you not see it working? Because I can't see it not working this way if we had this kind of mobility. And if you don't think that way, then this is a different perspective, and this needs to be added to the society. I'm not saying everyone's going to suddenly fly out to be sovereign. Nope. There's going to be people who love cities. Not only do they love cities, they love the dirty parts of the city and they love the clean parts. So with that, I am going to wrap this thing up. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button. All if you can, and I will make sure that I get my website set up a little better for everyone coming in and have a little bit of fun with that as well. Thank you, everybody. I am out of here. Do 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 do.